Hello and welcome back to Craftube. I'm Ros Clark. This is Ros Clark Craft. That's my home on the internet, or at least on YouTube. You can also find me as Ros Clark Craft on Instagram or on Ravelry. And this is my home and you're very welcome. If you've seen my previous Craftube video, you'll know that I'm experimenting. I'm recording both these videos at the same time, so I haven't got changed in between. But I'm editing them as separate videos. So the previous episode was the one if you're interested in all the yarn and spinning and knitting and crochet and those kinds of things. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about some dressmaking and other kinds of stitching. So please do stick around if you're interested in that. Good, so I've got some things to show you that I have been working on, and I've got some purchases to show you, and I've got some plans to talk about. So first of all, things that I have been working on. If you have seen my video a couple of weeks ago, you'll know that I had a go at my first Sewing Bee Style Transformation Challenge. So I'm not going to talk about this in great detail here because you can go and watch that video if you want to know more about it. But this is the garment that I have ended up with. I'm just going to do the tie up. So it is a kind of peasant style blouse. It's using two different men's shirts, a green stripe and a green check. On the back, it's actually got the button placket of one of the shirts just left in place. And in the other, in the front, it's got a, it's not quite a drawstring, but it has got a little tie at the neck. Otherwise it is quite loose. The sleeves are a little bit shorter than I would have liked, but that was the only fabric that I had really. There was not a lot left at the end of this. I will put in a little clip of me wearing it from the Transformation Challenge video that I did. I've worn this several times actually since I've made it. It's really comfortable, really nice to wear. I have discovered, I think the only downside to it, because it's made from shirting, I mean, it really should be ironed. And I don't really do ironing. I do pressing while I'm sewing, but I don't really do ironing of clothes when they have been washed. So we'll see how that goes. But anyway, I really like it. And as I say, you can go and watch the whole process in another video. The other thing that I've made, I think I showed you this fabric a little while ago when I bought it. This enormous denim with the sort of bleached spots on it. That is just a little knee-length skirt. Let's hold it so that you can see it. I've used some really fun spotty batik print in the pocket lining and also a different one on the waistband lining. It's half elasticated at the back. It's got side pockets at the front. It's super comfortable. I do need, before I wear it, to wash it. It's that really dark indigo. Even after I'd just been sewing it, my hands were blue. So yeah, it's fine. I mean, it comes out, but that's the point, it comes out. So if I were to sit on my sofa while wearing this, the sofa would turn blue, and I would rather not have that to deal with. So I do need to wash it, but it's yeah, very pleasing. I'm pretty sure I showed you the pattern that I used when I bought it. I will put a link to that in the description below. It was a simplicity pattern, maybe. So a proper, I quite often make this sort of skirt without a pattern at all, and actually it was quite nice to have a pattern and not have to think about it while I was sewing it. So I'm really pleased with that, how that turned out. Good, this one is still in progress. You've seen this before. This was my house that I started at an Anne Kelly workshop, and I have been doing quite a bit more on this. So it's nearly finished around the edges. Basically, it's going to end up covered in hand stitching. So I've done some on this part of the house, but there's a lot of the house still to go. This section up here, just above the house, still needs work on, and one or two other places. But it's certainly getting there, and it definitely feels that this is right. The more you stitch on it, the more it sort of melds together and feels like one piece of fabric rather than just a whole lot of separate bits clinging together. So I'm enjoying it. It's not complicated to do. It's quite nice. I'm not bothering to keep the back at all tidy, which pleases me enormously. And yeah, I think it's coming out how I envisaged it. Really bright and flowery and happy. A real sort of child's memory of a house rather than a literal interpretation of a house. So I'm working on that. What else? Well, I've got a little bit of haul. In the shop I mentioned in the knitting, yarning, crocheting video, they also have just a small selection of fabric. Not loads, but a nice selection of fabric. And in the remnant bin, I found this. This is, I can't remember, I think it's maybe 1.3 meters of jersey, so easily enough to make a nice top. And it's this sort of pale sagey green with a darker check on it. But even the check is very roughly drawn. You know, it's kind of slightly wibbly lines and slightly not perfect. And I think that's really pretty. I think it's nice as a sort of my problem is I tend to have items in my wardrobe that are, all of them want to be the star of the show. And sometimes that's how I really like it. But occasionally, just occasionally, you want an item that isn't the star of the show. And I think this will make a nice, probably a long sleeved top that I can wear, you know, under cardigans. It'll probably go, oh, now there's a thought. Might it go with that? I think it might go quite well with that actually. So yeah, that's that. That will just make a simple jersey top. So that was not bad. The shop was called Slip Stitch, and I will certainly put a link in the description below. Although, as I say, that fabric came out of the remnant bin, so I don't imagine they have it listed on their website. Now, the other thing I have to show you, this is very exciting. I, as part of my day job, I teach an online course, and one of my students who finished last term very kindly sent me a gift card as a thank you for it. And she sent me a gift card, and I thought it was so brilliant because I looked at it and thought, oh, that's nice. You know, people send you sort of Amazon gift cards. She hadn't sent an Amazon gift card at all. She'd sent a gift card to an online fabric shop. I'm like, how brilliant is that? So she'd sent me to a company that actually I've not used before, but can you see on there? It's called The Owl and the Sewing Cat. And that is their logo. And I just thought, I mean, that's brilliant, isn't it? And I knew that The Owl and the Sewing Cat did like a subscription box. So I went and looked at their website, and you know, they have fabric you can just buy, or haberdashery, or you know, other bits and things. But I just thought, well, I've never signed up for their subscription box, and I'm not sure if I want to. And the amount of the gift card that she sent me was almost exactly the price of their trial box. And I thought, well, I don't have to sign up then for 3 months or 6 months or a year. I can just get this one trial box and see. So that's what I did. And although it's called a subscription box, you can see it's not actually a box that it came in. It just came in this really nice sturdy envelope, and then a plastic envelope around it with the address on it. And because it's the first trial one, they also sent, which I don't know what I've done with, you get anyway a little free gift, and that was stuck to the outside of this, and it was just a little seam ripper. So, you know, I'm always losing seam rippers, always a nice bonus to have a spare seam ripper. And then this is what was inside it. Oh, there we go. I put it back inside. So there we go. It's just a little seam ripper. Yeah, quite a nice one. But that is not part of the actual kit. So here is what we've got. It is a kit for a shopper bag. Now, I have to say, I was a little bit disappointed because, I mean, everybody's got 100 shopping bags by now, haven't they? And there are a lot of free patterns out there for shopping bags if you want to make some. So yes, I was a little bit disappointed. It is a nice bag. I like that it's got pockets on the outside and it's lined, and it looks like it's got good sturdy straps and box bottom, and you know, so it's not a bad pattern. It is better certainly than most of the free patterns that I've seen, and I think that's fair enough. But it's not, yeah, it was like, oh, I'm just not as excited about that as I thought I might have been. It's just not as imaginative perhaps as I sort of hoped it was going to be. But anyway, this is what you've got. You've got a pattern that is printed full size, which I quite like, because you know, for this sort of pattern often it's measure your shape, and I'm lazy, so that's quite nice. It's got a proper pattern, printed at full size included in there, and then it's got the fabric, so it doesn't come with everything else that you would need. To be fair, I think the only other thing you would need for this is thread. You might want to interface bits of it, but the pattern doesn't call for it. You might want to stitch buttons on, but again, the pattern doesn't call for it. So the only thing you would need to add is thread, which, I don't know, again, you know, some kits that I've seen, like when I've bought Guthrie Ghani sewing kits, for example, they are so filled with there's so much attention to detail in terms of everything you will need, right the way down to sewing machine needles, thread, interfacing, you know, just all the bits and pieces. So yeah, I was a little disappointed to see that this didn't have that, but I mean, it's not like I don't have thread that I can use. So here's what you get. You get a little bit of calico for lining the pocket, maybe. I need to check. Maybe lining the inside of the bag. You get this striped ticking fabric that is the lining, at least for the top part of the bag, and then you get this lovely red dotted fabric, which is for the top and the handles of the bag, and then this quite fun beach hut fabric that makes the pockets going around the outside of the bag. So it's nice fabric, it feels nice quality. It's all obviously upholstery weight fabric, the beach huts and the spotty fabric, and then the lining fabric is a bit thinner and the calico nice and stiff. So I've thought about it and I've thought, you know, I could make the bag that they suggest and it would be fine, and I would not use it. Like, I don't really use most of the other recyclable, reusable life bag, long bag for life bags that I own. But what I do need is a new peg bag. I've got a peg bag, I made the peg bag, it's worked very well, but it is slightly too small and slightly falling apart. So I think this fabric would actually make a really nice, sturdy, pretty, fun peg bag, and I think that is what I'm going to do with it, rather than this. But I will keep hold of this pattern because almost certainly at some point in the future I will want to make a bag, and this looks like it will be a reasonable pattern to do that. So anyway, having done that, I'm not therefore, I think, going to sign up for the regular subscription. It was okay. I wouldn't say I felt it was bad value for money, but it didn't feel like, wow, this is amazing value for money. And like I say, it just didn't feel all that imaginative or interesting. And I think if I'm going to have something where I'm not choosing my project every month and I'm not choosing the fabrics, I want it to be something that is going to stretch me a little bit. That will be something that I'll say, oh, I wouldn't have thought of doing that. I wouldn't have thought of using that. And I would have thought of this. So for me, there's no extra value in having someone else put that kit together for me. If you're a complete beginning sewer, you might think, no, that's perfect for me. That's exactly the sort of project I want. I want a pattern that's going to take me through it. I want all the fabric cut so I know I've got enough of the right thing. I don't think that's bad value. So my gift card was £20, and I remember I had to pay £2 or £3 for postage. But that was about the price of the trial box. I imagine all the trial boxes of this, could be wrong. I don't know whether you just get the one from that month, whatever they're sending out, or whether they're all, your trial is always this bag. I'm not sure. But you know, if that's you, if you are at that sort of really beginner sewing place and you want something that's going to lead you through a sort of manageable, not overwhelming project, then check it out. And like I say, they sell fabric and other stuff in their shop just as it comes. So do go and look at that as well, the owl and the sewing cat. So that's that. And then I have one more thing that I'm going to show you. In fact, it is one more thing that I am already showing you. I bought this dress a couple of weeks ago. This is not about to become a shopping channel. I mean, it's certainly not a shopping channel where I'm selling you stuff, but it's not going to be a channel about what has Ros been buying in Tesco, I promise you. But I promise this is relevant. I bought this dress. I'm going to put a picture here of me standing up so you can see what the whole silhouette looks like. And it's quite nice. It's quite a plain denim dress. It's got really the only sort of feature it's got are these little puff sleeves, which actually are the bit that I like least. And I think I'm going to alter that and take in so that those sleeves lie a little bit flatter. But that's not the main thing that I wanted to talk about. I think this dress, because it is so simple in its shape, would be a really great basis for an embroidery project. And I thought about that, and you get projects, you know, in embroidery books and magazines and this kind of thing, they're always suggesting, oh, you could do a little bit of embroidery on your clothes. And I always think, yeah, but yeah, I don't know, it looks a bit weird, and does it really go through the washing machine, and do I really want garments with embroidery on them? You know, I'm not particularly drawn to them when I'm buying ready-to-wear garments, so why would I want one that I've gone to all that time and trouble to make? But then I thought about it a bit more, and I thought, actually, what I think would be really fabulous on this is not figurative embroidery. I'm not going to embroider flowers on it. What I would like to do is something inspired by or sort of inspired by two different kinds of things, although I must admit in my head they seem really similar and I'm not absolutely sure I know the difference. Camphor stitching and burrow stitching. That's B-O-R-O. I don't know how you say that. It might be borrow, burrow, boro, don't know. It's Japanese anyway, and camphor is Indian, and they both involve creating fabric. So in the West, I guess the equivalent would be patchwork. You take bits of fabric from old garments or soft furnishings that had worn out, but you could save some of the fabric and you would stitch them together, and that's how you'd make new fabric, and you'd use that for cushions or quilts or whatever. And the tradition as it grew up in Japan and I think India, like I say, I'm not absolutely clear on the difference between the two, and I'm sure there must be differences between the two, but it's more around, instead of taking separate bits of fabric and just sewing them together with a seam, you would take a base fabric and lay on top, so you'd see where the hole was or where the weakness or the stain was, and you'd lay over it other fabric, and you'd leave that fabric, I think, raw edged, and you'd stitch over it with a series of rows of running stitches. And you might do that with several layers, and you might have crossing over strips horizontally and vertically. And I think in Japan, maybe this is the difference, I think in Japan they traditionally do it with denim and different kind of colours and weights of denim, and you almost end up with, I want to say it's a little bit like Trigger's broom, or also, is it Theseus's ship? The same thing, that you replace so many bits that actually there's none of the original thing left. And I feel like burrow sometimes gets a bit like that. You're replacing and you're replacing and you're replacing, and until you can't really tell if there was any of the original garment or the original fabric left. And the camphor work that I've seen from India seems to me, as I say, very similar, but using traditional Indian fabric, so often printed very lightweight cottons or silks or those kinds of things, but again stitched down with quite simple running stitches to create a new fabric. And what I thought could look really fabulous on this is just in maybe 2 or 3 places on the front and 2 or 3 places on the back, and maybe a little bit on the sleeve, just to have patches using probably brightly coloured fabrics rather than other shades of denim. stitched on, hand stitched on in that running stitch kind of way, and it goes over the fabric and sort of onto the denim behind to make it feel like one fabric. Not dissimilar, I suppose, to some of the kind of applique and stitching that I've done on here. I mean, not such tiny pieces, I guess, and maybe more even stitching, but still that kind of stitching and fabric coming together to make new fabric. Partly that's inspired by the fact that I have got a lot of denim dresses, and I sort of bought this one in a crisis moment of I need something to wear, and yeah, anyway, complicated. But having bought it and thought, you know, I really don't need another plain denim dress in my wardrobe, but I do quite like it. So then I was like, well, how could I make this a dress that feels different from all the other ones that I own? Yeah, and I think that would be quite fun to do that sort of stitching and playing with fabric, something that feels a bit like doing textile art, but doing it on a wearable garment. So let me know. I'd be really interested to know if you've ever stitched into a garment. So not done the dressmaking, but have you ever embroidered a garment? Have you ever done that sort of invisible mending that has become a big thing these days? Have you ever done that sort of applique or embroidery on a garment? How well does it go through the washing machine, for example? Because there is no chance in the world that I am going to manage having a garment that I can't wash on a regular basis. So yeah, I'd be interested to know about that. I'd also love to know what you thought about the subscription box. Have you ever signed up for a craft subscription box? I have signed up for 2 or 3 others in the past, and some have been better than others, and I'd be happy to talk about those in a future video if you're interested, or if there's one that you are very curious about that you'd like me to sign up for, I'd be happy to do that as well. Oh, there is the I talked about in a previous video, the cross stitch subscription that I have with Caterpillar Cross Stitch. I did the summer one, Here Comes the Sun, up there. I didn't get the next one because it was a mandala pattern, which is not really my thing. And I also have taken a break for the one after that because it's going to be a Christmassy one, and I don't really do Christmas craft. So we'll see. But hopefully I will get the next one after that in the next spring. So I think that is all I have to say about sewing. Oh no, there's one more thing. I haven't got it here to show you, and that's why I forgot. But somebody asked last time or a couple of videos ago about the pink faux fur jacket that I asked you to vote on the fabric for. I have ordered 2 meters of that, and it has arrived, and it is lovely, and I'm going to start working it. What I need to do, and it won't be this weekend because I haven't got any time, I need some time just to have a look at the pattern and work out how I am going to add in a lining. So the original pattern is an unlined pattern. It's got beautifully bound seams and so on, which I'm not going to do with the fur fabric, but I do want it to have a lining. So I need to work out how I'm going to do that, how much lining fabric I need, what I've got that I could use, or if I need to order any more before I start work on that. Yeah, and again, I don't think we've quite hit the cold weather where I really need to wear it, but I would like to have that done you know, in the next few weeks, maybe by the end of October or something, so that it's ready for the winter. But I have got everything else that I need. Yeah, I just need to work out what I'm doing with the lining for that, and hopefully there will be some progress to show you on that for next time. I don't think I've got anything else that I'm working on at the moment. I've been making a little bit of progress on the patchwork quilt. In fact, I've got a little bit of video. I'll show you where I'm at with that, with the squares that I'm making for that strip quilt. So every so often I just go and do half a dozen or so here and there to keep adding to that pile. And yeah, what I need to do, which again won't be this weekend because I'm going away for a couple of days, what I actually need to do at this point is do my wardrobe changeover from spring summer to autumn winter. And as I do that, I will do a cull of things that are not wearable or I don't wear anymore, things that can get recycled or donated, things that can get upcycled by me perhaps, but anyway, things that will come out from the summer rotation, things that will go in storage. And then I need to get out all my autumn winter stuff and just go through and see whether there are any gaps in that wardrobe to make for this year. So I found my final sampler. You can see that this is a sampler with my name on it. I stitched this. The date there, April the 16th, 2004. That is the birthday on which I was given this sampler as a present. That's my 30th birthday. Please don't use that to steal my identity on the internet. That's when I was given the sampler. It was a present from my grandparents. I don't think I've got the pattern for the sampler anywhere, and I have to say good luck with trying to identify this sampler from the pattern. I basically changed everything. So from the top down, I put my initials, they're not my initials at the top, that is my name. So you can't use that to steal my identity on the internet. That is my name, Roz. They were taken from a book I had of cross stitch based on William Morris, I think. And certainly the bird design in the middle, the birds and flowers, that is a William Morris inspired cross stitch design from his Strawberry Thief pattern, I think. So those were not original. The alphabets, so there's obviously a normal English alphabet and some numbers. Then there is a Greek alphabet and a Hebrew alphabet. If you are an ancient Greek or Hebrew scholar, please don't look very carefully at those alphabets. There are mistakes in both of them. Not in the actual letters, I don't think, but in the order of the alphabet. I was doing it from memory and my memory was not perfect. But at the time when I was stitching this, I was studying both Greek and Hebrew at theological college. And so it seemed to me to make more sense to include those alphabets than more repeated capital letter alphabets or whatever. And then I don't know about that sort of border pattern that I've used between the alphabets and at the bottom. I don't know whether that might have been on the original pattern or whether it's one that I cobbled together from somewhere else. Possibly that's a remnant of the actual sampler design, and you can see it's there underneath the birds as well. And then at the bottom I was thinking, well, what would I like to include as a saying? I can't remember what was on the original sampler, but it wasn't this. So this says Adonai Melech, or Adonai Malak maybe, yeah, Adonai Malak Tagael Haaretz, the Lord reigns, or possibly the Lord is king, let the earth rejoice. And I don't seem to have given a Bible reference for that, but that is definitely from one of the Psalms. It's probably from several Psalms, to be honest. So that's that. So I made up my sort of own Hebrew alphabet there and did this sort of drop shadow on the stitching for both the gold and the blue. You can see there with the blue the threads that go behind, because I was too lazy to finish the end of the thread between each word and start again. I kind of wish I had bothered, at least with the dark blue. You can't really see it on the gold, but you can see it quite clearly on that dark blue. Anyway, then what have we got? We have got this sort of swirly border. I think that's one that I did. It might have been based on an original one on the sampler, but I certainly adapted it to fit around the text and the pictures that I had done. And then this border on the outside, really simple little floral border, going straight up and down. I think that was part of the original sampler. So, I mean, maybe 10% of this, let's be generous, was from the actual sampler pattern, and the rest of it was made up by me. And yet, I was still really glad that they gave it to me, because I wouldn't have done it if I hadn't had the kit to start with. So, you know, the fabric and the embroidery floss and the reason to start, and then just keep adapting it to suit me. And I think it's really interesting. I do see on Flosstube sometimes people suggesting that designers might be upset if you change their design at all. And honestly, this has never ever occurred to me. So if you are the designer of the sampler and you're very upset that I changed it, to be honest, if you can recognise it as yours, I will be really impressed. If you are the designer of the sampler and you're upset that I changed it, I mean, I'm sorry, but also what I bought was, well, I didn't buy, what I was given was, in my mind, inspiration. Whatever I did, this sampler would be mine. And I don't want to do something that is just a copy of yours. I want to do something that's meaningful for me. So when children and women stitched samplers 100 years ago, 200 years ago, they weren't copying complete patterns. Now, they might have had patterned books. You can see sometimes motifs and alphabets and so on that are the same between samplers, and they may well have used those. And I've certainly used those. That sort of bird flower design is not original to me. But also, they've chosen what to use, how to stitch them, where to put them together in a way that suits them on their sampler. I mean, possibly they were also instructed how to do that by teachers or parents or governesses, but they did all make their own. They're not all the same. And I think it's quite sad that in the modern cross-stitch world, there's a lot of people just producing the same things. They're not even changing the flosses or the fabric in any way. They're literally just copying what someone else has done. And I do think that's quite sad, really. And I wish more stitchers felt free just to make even quite small changes. Sometimes people will put in their own initials or change the dates of a thing. But, you know, feel free to change the text if it doesn't suit you, or it's not something you really resonate with, to something better. And, you know, it's not hard to chart these things out yourselves these days. I have a little app on my iPad. I think it was a paid app, but not expensive, called Stitch Sketch. And that's really easy to use as a way of charting something out. But you can do it the old-fashioned way with graph paper and coloured pencils. You can make little tweaks to a border. You can change colour schemes. You can make your cross stitch, and particularly your samplers, you can make them what you want. And I don't know, maybe if you're a designer that's disappointing, but I've certainly seen a lot of designers say they love that. They love seeing how people are inspired by their work to create their own thing. And, you know, if a designer doesn't like it, then they don't have to look. And they don't have to come around to your house and see it on your wall. You have to live with it, so you should make it the sampler that you love. Good. I think I have plenty to be getting on with. I will see you next time. I am struggling a bit to get my head around this idea of filming a video that is not being posted immediately. So I don't quite know where we are in the schedule. I don't know what will be coming out. I have got another transformation challenge in mind that I've got everything ready for. That will be coming out quite soon after this, I guess. I have no idea. Anyway, if you want to make sure you get all the videos, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, make sure you click the notification bell, and I'd love it if you'd like the video and leave me a comment. And I will see you next time.